Okay, do you have us all in the field now? Great. Yeah, I have to collect my thoughts. I'd like to welcome all the students to the student panel, which is created and based on the questions that arose from our guest presenter this year, our distinguished lecturer, Dr. Mary Stokrocki from the University of Arizona State University. And she's been with us and told us about her life last night. And so the students were there, and they have questions always. That this gives them the opportunity. And John and Betty certainly supported, but his vision for this particular part of the series was very important to him, because he was very student-oriented. So in many ways, this is really the icing on the cake. And so I want to introduce, before I introduce our guest distinguished lecturer for the John A. and Betty J. Michael Autobiographical Series in Art Education. Then we'll turn it over to the students for their questions. So I'm pleased to present Hannah Zimmerman, who's going to be graduating and is going to have a fellowship next semester to round out her year at the Dayton Art Institute. And then next we have Catherine Kramer, and Catherine will be returning to finish her schooling as well. And then we have Haley Rice, who is going to be returning to finish school. And then to my right, we have Joseph Castano, who is going to be starting his student teaching here in the spring, but he is going to finish on our Miami University's China campus. So he'll have wonderful stories. So in essence, he has another semester as well. And then we have Kate Mahone. Did I say that right, Kate? Yeah. Catherine Mahone, who, help me here, what will you be doing next semester?
I'll be student teaching.
Oh, yes. That, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So you and Joe will be student teaching together. So that completes our students. And again, as I said, this is just a key part of this series. So I'd like to introduce our distinguished lecturer, who is the 36th lecturer. This is November the 18th, 2014, and we're in room 220 of the art building, just to give you a context that we can mark this with. But I'm pleased to present Dr. Mary Stokrocki, who is our distinguished lecturer. So, these young people are eager to ask a question, so who would like to start?
Do you think growing up so close to IBM in New York spurred your interest in computers and teaching?
No. Because I was not into computers in the beginning. In fact, when I did my dissertation, I typed it on an old-fashioned typewriter with the erasable bond paper, and I had to hire somebody to be an editor. So when I got married, we took our money with gifts. We bought 2 computers, you know, the old-fashioned IBM ones. That's when I first got into computers. But I do have a degree in commercial art. So photography I taught for 10 years. So if that's related, maybe. Yeah. Good question. How do you know anything about IBM? Do you know anything about it?
All my family, my dad's side and my stepmom's family is from New York.
Oh, really?
And my step-grandparent, they live in Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
He was part of Northrop Grumman, so I know
Nice.
sort of that side with the computers and defense contracting, so I thought there was some correlation.
Yeah, my mom's Italian, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
My husband's Italian. So, Italian-Polish. Right across the street from each other. Nice question.
I have a question. You can correct me if I heard this wrong, but I believe you said that you are your number one student. Is that something that you said?
Then I'm the number one.
No, you said that as teachers we are our number one student. So I was just wondering if you had any suggestions for managing a full-time job and then continuing your own learning, kind of like having those two things coincide together.
Are you referring to teaching?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're teaching.
Well, first year teaching, you won't have any time. First year teaching is pretty tough, learning the ropes. And well, when you're doing the projects, I always tell my students, do the projects first. You do the project and get your interpretation, and then you can share it with the students. That's the kind of art you're going to be doing in the beginning. And then maybe later on you can start doing your own. One of my PowerPoints was on the artwork that I did as a young teacher. A lot of drawings and stuff. I think they become very personal as you go along. And right, then you start graduate school. They don't have to have a master's degree anymore, do they? In this day?
No.
That's
But
the way.
it drives the salary scale, and certainly our students.
I know. Right.
They're intellectually curious. They feel they need more.
I mean, you get pretty lonely sometimes. You want to go back to school. That's when I started my second art interest in weaving. About 6 courses. And then I did go over to Turkey. I was invited by the World Bank. Somebody dropped out at the last minute. You've got to be ready for anything. And I said, I've been there before. I can go. School starts next week. So my chair said, find somebody to take your job and you can go. And my husband went to 1 week. He had time to get ready. So for an entire year. Yeah. See, those things just fall in your lap. So be ready for anything. And don't be afraid to take a risk. If you don't have kids, you can do these things, But don't say, oh no, it's not the time. Sometimes it is the time. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Could you say a little bit about what you did for the World Bank while you were over there?
Yeah. I was writing curriculum with my colleague Oljai, Kara Soho, who came all the way from Antioch. We were stationed in Ankara, the capital, and she would drive up in the buses, and we would plan the curriculum together. During the week, I did a lot of it. When she came up, she went through it. She, of course, interpreted everything into Turkish. Once a month, the 10 teachers came in, again by buses, and we had round tables, and that was a lot of fun because I got to know them very well. But at the beginning, they put us on buses again to visit some of the universities. There's 34 universities. I mean, the whole circumference of Turkey. It was very, very exciting. And then the winter came in Ramadan, which gets to be really draggy. So they're all fasting, and that was tough. And then after Christmas, and do they celebrate Christmas there in the shopping malls? They do. That was cute to see a Christmas tree. remember my boss, who was from England, said, "You can't have a Christmas tree." I said, "Okay, we'll call it a curriculum tree." And that was cute. Yeah, but then we went and did some trials. I think we were the only team, music and art, that teamed up to try out these lessons. And a couple of times we would run upstairs and run out the back door and go into the schools and try them out. Many didn't know we were gone, but I had a lot of pictures. And we were the only team that had evidence, physical evidence, that this work, like with our criticism, with the kids, and the beautiful rugs, worked. It was really gorgeous. And later they complimented us, but they said, if we had known, you had snuck out.
I know art is kind of an evolving subject in schools, so my question was, what are the changes or challenges that have started between when you first started teaching and now?
Oh boy. I think it was a lot better when I first started. We all had a foot in the schools. Some schools are brand new. And I was involved in setting up 2 schools programs, and the first one was fancy building, maybe you get a kiln, but no materials, so you have to run around and get them. That's a challenge, right? So you ask the parents to help out. You get a lot of recycled stuff. Paper tubes were a big thing when I was younger, and we can build structures, cut the cardboard, and that was exciting. So trying to find materials sometimes is difficult. But today everything's remix and mash up, so it's not, they're expecting you can do a lot with recyclables. And of course politics is the biggest thing. When you're a young teacher, you've got to eat humble pie, and take your time. There's no rush. Listen to people. And your evaluations always aren't the greatest because they have to write something down. So don't take that to heart. It's just part of their job. Not always your problem. So you work as hard as you can with your colleagues, like the music director, who really never liked what I was doing, but that's too bad. And then the sports, I shared an office with one of the sports coaches, and I didn't know he did watercolors. That was exciting. But we planned a big event. We got a big grant from I was teaching in Boston then, from the Boston League. And we did face painting, and all the students were in the gym, and they did kind of dancing. Well, you follow the leader around, and it's the first time the boys ever danced. And that was quite amazing to do something like that. And now they're used to it, but boy, in the beginning it was hard to get them to move. They were very sexist, so you have to put up with that. But I think politics is the biggest thing. You really have to work hard and go to the school board meetings, however difficult it is, go. They're really open-minded. They don't always like the principals, and they watch them, you see. And if you want somebody else on your side, be visible in your community. I was editor of the yearbooks when I was a young student, but I was also in charge of the yearbooks when I became a teacher. You see, you have to be very involved in your community. Spaghetti supper, whatever, dance, go to them. Is that what you wanted to hear? and much more.
Do you know about, in Arizona have crayons to computers?
What is that, another program?
It's basically, I think you know about crayons to computers, don't you? Yeah. Could you say a little bit about that, please?
I wasn't able to go. They invited me. It's, from what I understand, it's a program for schools that don't have a lot of money for their supplies, so all the teachers get to go down to wherever they base. Like my teacher went down to Cincinnati, and she was allowed so many packs of crayons, so many packs of glue, so many packs of whatever. And it's different for each teacher. Like classroom teachers were allowed so many of something else, and they just
had to pick them up and put them in their basket, and they were free. They brought them back.
Where do you pick them up?
It depends. Like I think it's just like a base wherever.
It's a building
Yeah.
where things are donated.
Oh,
And anybody can go there. But if you are not an at-risk school, they ask, and it's not mandatory, but they ask that you have volunteer 4 hours of service in conjunction for being able to shop there. And 4 hours of service to stock shelves and things like that. And that, but if you're at an at-risk school, then you don't have to. You can do that certainly. But there are several in the East. I know there's one in Chicago. So I mean, what you want to just look around.
and you can trade. I even trade with the schools. And when I was teaching ceramics 10 years, the next school had the kilns, had more money and more clay. And I said, well, I'll trade you such and such a thing if you let me use your raku kilns. And they came over. We had big raku firing outdoors, and they were really very happy to help out. So it's like a regional event. That's a good way of making contacts. Invite your professors too, and the teachers. You don't have to be the only one teaching. You can have guest teachers, because it's hard the first year, And the kids like to have another guest, another talking head.
And Dr. Michael always told us that he never did anything that he didn't call the press and have them cover it.
See what a good idea that is. I'm writing them down too. Any more questions?
I had one about your travel experience and what's the biggest difference between in teaching students in the States and out of the States, and do you think that's was an essential part of your work that you would recommend we do?
Well, the answer to the first question is yes. It depends on what country you're in. Big difference. In our country, the students are a little bit more pampered. I have to say that because they're helped a lot. You have a lot of guidance, counselors. You have tutors. And in other countries, I think they pay. If you've got money, they pay for the tutors. And you can always get extra tutors here. But in some countries, they're pretty poor. They don't have those things. Language is a big problem. Like when I was in Taiwan, they never came to office hours, the students, and I would plead with them, please come, I'm lonely. I'm here all by myself in the middle of nowhere. Chiayi University is an agriculture university. And later on I was inviting them to go to lunch. I'll take you to lunch, And then before you know it, you're exchanging information. But they're taught to figure out the problems themselves. They did a pretty good job on teamwork. Boy, it was tough to get them to come. And I think in Spain, I was in Barcelona on a sabbatical. They were a little bit more outspoken there. They kept on questioning what I was doing, and I had to, defend myself. See, it depends on where you're going to school. My former graduate student in England was having a hard time at one university. They got a chip on their shoulder, about English. If you don't have the proper English, they get upset. And she was more open-minded, and she asked a lot of questions. Well, apparently you don't do that in that kind of a place. You say, it depends. And she switched to another university. If you don't like your university, go someplace else. See how difficult it is in some places?
In Brazil?
Brazil, that was a lot of fun. The kids were wonderful. And I did research in the schools too. And I remember telling you last time that I asked them to draw what they like to do in sports. Last month, everything's soccer. Remember we were talking about that? And just amazing. And then Sao Paulo is a very poor place, but that school happened to be think it was a Catholic school. Yeah, and one time, the part of the week I was at one school, and part of the week I was at another, plus teaching. So I did say, when I set these things up, they're special schools, because they're not, the public schools are different. So I'm not sure all the time what's going on in the public schools, because these were different types. That's a drawback. I didn't set up for me. And the second part of your question was interesting.
Do you feel as though like travel is an essential part to like your work and ours? Like,
Say that again.
do you feel that travel is an essential part of your work, and would you recommend it to ours?
To you, yes, absolutely. You know, now one thing you have that I didn't have when I was younger is this opportunity to go through the schools. We didn't have those programs, and you went, but basically you're on your own dollar. So your semester abroad, you have that wonderful opportunity, and by all means do it. And even later, when every chance you can get, you go. The NAEA used to have these winter break sessions, and they would send you to, we went to Madrid one year. My sister went with me for 2 weeks. Saw Picasso's museum, but the Picasso's museum is more south. We did some traveling. And then we went to Avior, France in summer. You know, that's where there's ski slopes, and there wasn't too much skiing going on, so we just jumped on the bus and went different places. Now, if you want, whenever I go to a conference, I go early, and I go into the schools. They do arrange that in the international. They see a conference is for you, but I would always go earlier and ask for permission to study, and that's how I got the most research papers done. And you'll get to know students as you go. And young teachers, and exchange addresses, and before you know it, you go back another time. Does that help? Yeah. NC is a wonderful organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. You can have 3 or 4 roommates sometimes, but it's all nobody ever stays in the room. They're all, it's like musical chairs. When Meryl Dion was alive, she would arrange that for everybody. And so you just have to be loose. Anyone?
You were talking about your travels, and you talked a little bit of it last night. Which one was your favorite opportunity?
Oh boy, they're all so wonderful. Of course, going to Poland, searching my roots, that was unbelievable. That was terribly exciting. Then I could come home and tell my father. My father said, I never knew that. I said, why didn't you go to Poland, Dad? You know. He said, well, I was more interested in baseball, right? That generation, right? So, but I would always come home and tell him, what was going on. But I think the most interesting one was the last one, Taiwan. You know, they're pretty progressive, but I just loved the Chinese culture, and everywhere you turned there was rice paddies, you know, because in the summers there's $3 million worth of damage, typhoons, but they picked themselves up and they barricade those trees, you know, embrace them, and they're able to fight the tremendous loss of land and mudslides. You see, just pack it up again, which we don't do enough of that in this country. Yeah. That was exciting.
I have another question. This is about Second Life. Do you think that with Second Life and with all these virtual realities that in the future art making is going to be almost all digital, and the physical art making will diminish with the use of like Blender, 3D printing, and Photoshop and Illustrator?
Yeah. You know, the digital people, I went to a conference this summer at the New Media Consortium, and they predict that, yes, the digital world will take over a great deal of teaching, and something called a flipped classroom, where the teacher's doing lecturing on the internet, and kids are meeting together, planning, and solving problems. Now, I know for a fact that it's never going to be like that, because what if somebody pulls the plug? There's not going to be that many computers, and then the terrorists are going to go after that. But we still need the material goods. We still need to survive, and it's never going to go away. We're going to be in the future. We are going to be cyborgs. We already cyborg, because I have a sister who has different problems. She's got a pacemaker. She's got acute bladder infections, and so there's a device from Medtronics. They have 5 of these types, and it goes from her bladder to her brain to control pain. They have inserts for migraines. This came out, a couple of weeks ago. You've got hearing aids, and you've got cataracts, right? So, and I had a hip replacement at 50 years old. Artificial knees. You are cyborg already. So get ready for more, because you're going to live longer. You're going to have more implants. So, and then that Second Life is changing. The owner sold a lot of it to another company, and they're getting ready for the Oculus Rift, and 3D. You wear those glasses, and you can immerse yourself in the 3-dimensional world. And that came from Germany 2 or 3 years ago. So they're before us in that technology. So they do predict in the New Media Consortium that there will be many changes. We're not going to have degrees anymore. We're going to have something called certifications. So your specialty, whatever it is, will be your specialty. You'll get another kind of degree. Like, think of Girl Scouts. You have those badges, Boy Scouts. But that's what they predict. What is your special? Your specialty will get even more special. So those are some of the predictions. And I don't want it to go all digital. I do it because I'm the monkey in the middle, REM, and I had to devise different ways that my colleagues, things that they didn't cover. But again, for my commercial art background helped a lot, because I had taught so much photography, so that helped.
Just kind of going off of Second Life, what he was asking, what kind of effects have you seen on the students who have worked with it, either positive or negative, in terms of like social development or, I don't know, being able to communicate? Has it all helped them, or have you had any students who it's kind of caused them to go further inside their shell through working in a virtual world?
Oh, the virtual world. No, the virtual world brings them out, because they have another identity. You can have 5, remember I said you can have 5 avatars and go up there anytime and change your identity. Join different groups. I worked a lot with Virtual Ability Island, and we did a major paper with them. And I interviewed some of the people with disabilities, some hard of hearing, and every semester they come in and talk to my students. Now, they can't hear, but they can type and they can talk, and they're very good at it. But it brings out their gifts, and nobody knows. They don't have to know they have a disability, and no one cares after a while, because they do a lot of artwork, and some of them are master at making machinima videos, just incredible. There's one guy who keeps on teaching me. Every time I go up there, we talk and type, and he was a former musician that blew out his eardrums from loud music, but he's really good at art, digital art. And I give him, he's always asking me for my opinion on his artworks, and they're pretty good for digital works. And I give him a little bit of push, what I think else he could do. So encouragement helps, and we just exchange gifts. But that I noticed that it really helps when somebody has has another momentum, you see, because they have other people they can meet. They have coffee. When somebody was dying, for example, they were sending cards in real life to help each other. Maybe we need more of that. And if people around you immediately are not helpful, you can get help from people at a distance. You're teaching others your specialty. See? So that's important. Does that help? And there, Second Life is the most popular. It's the biggest. But there's 40 other Sims up there. Unity, I work on Open Sim now. I didn't get a chance to show you what the kids are doing, but I worked with a charter school nearby this summer, and they helped me build installations. And some of those kids are really smart. And I'm a little more hesitant. In 1 hour, they built those little animals. And it's easier when you're watching than you're doing. So you learn a lot. I know the kids are not using. They need to use 2 hands. They just go. If you want to link, you got to use the other hand too. They have to relearn how to be ambidextrous. Use 2 hands. I think that's what you wanted to know. Yeah. Any more? What's your backgrounds? What do you hope to do? You guys, But I know you're going to the Dayton Art Institute.
Yes.
I
have a fellowship to teach high school students, and so I'll kind of be bringing my background of drawing and painting to that.
Wow. Is that a special school? The Dayton Art? Is it a museum?
It's a museum.
Oh,
The
okay.
Dayton Art Museum, and so it's through the museum.
Oh, good. Beautiful museum, huh? Yeah. And Joe, what did you do?
I do art education and I also minor in Chinese, so I speak the language as well.
Wow. Why Chinese?
The middle school I went to, I'm from Los Angeles originally, and at the middle school they had offered, and just through chance I happened to try to take it, and I enjoyed the language, fell in love with the culture.
Which kind of Chinese?
Mandarin.
Right. When I was in Taiwan, the signs were Mandarin, the local language, like Pinyin, and then there was English and Japanese, because the Japanese owned Taiwan. So yeah, you're going to get a lot.
Yeah.
And you're going to China?
Yeah.
Where?
Beijing.
Oh, exciting. You'll see the Great Wall. Check out the one on Second Life too, because of the Great Wall. And when are you going?
I think next semester.
That's exciting. My husband's from L.A., Alhambra.
Okay, I'm from, I don't know if you know anything, but I'm from Burbank, Glendale.
Nice.
No, not really from Alhambra.
Yeah, cool. Good. You never know where you're going to end up, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, always from there over to Dayton. Yeah, that's interesting. My husband did the same thing. He went from L.A. to Boston College. Yeah, clear across the country. Yeah. Well, what are you guys going to do?
I recently started looking into jobs for web page development through like a couple of like websites and magazines and things like that. And then I want to teach.
Very good. See, it's commercial art and advanced. See, that's great.
I still have another semester here. We'll see.
Right. You'll have some specialties too.
Yeah.
You must do drawing too, right? What's your specialty?
More into photography. I'm a photography minor.
Yeah, oh, good. Good. We all are using that. Yeah. Gosh. Okay.
I'm really looking forward to just like teaching for a couple of years, maybe at the high school or middle school level, but I'm also really passionate about traveling and volunteer work, so I was thinking like maybe the Peace Corps or Teach for America or something possible.
Right. They're always looking for people. I keep on mentioning the Fulbright. You can go and teach in China, English. Sometimes you can go teach English and still teach art. Because one of my young students did that. And he couldn't believe he could do that much art after school. You can make it turn out to your advantage. You want to say anything about your travels? Going to Brazil, aren't you?
Yeah, in February.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Our contacts. Yeah.
Brazil, I was thinking a while ago, she was talking about the poverty of Brazil, and it's a very interesting country. Of course, their economy is increasing, and their cost of living is going up a lot. But the reais have always, which is their currency, has always it's gone through hyperinflation, which means tomorrow the money might be worth half of what it was the day before. So, but at that point, as far as the demographics, and you were talking about the public versus the private, that's when this all fits in. There's at that point, about 3% of the population were the wealthy. About the next 5% were the middle class, and then the rest were the poor. And all of those poor children go to schools that are public schools. And so one of my life goals is to spend more time down there and actually go into the public schools as a native English speaker and be able to help them learn English, because it's so important, and it's something that, in fact, one of we had 3 Brazilian young men live in our home, and so they are Brazilian sons. So I'm spending a week with each of them. And the son of the first place I married, his name is Victor, and he's 7 or 8. But Victor is going to teach me Portuguese, because he's been able, Daddy's part of that 1 or 2%, and always has been. So he's been in an English school what she says about taking the opportunities, you just don't be afraid. I mean, it's just my advice that Hannah probably remembers, because I haven't had the rest of you in class, but my advice is to show up, stay awake, and you'll never know where you're going to find yourself.
That's right. Yeah, we think some like take risks, but not too big of risks.
Well, travel smart.
Yeah. But don't let it hold you back. When you're single, you can still do it, and the women too can do it. I went over one year youth hosteling. They're pretty good. And I was in the Olympics in Munich. I never went to the events; they're too expensive. But I did go to the youth hostel. It's sometimes uncomfortable, but you adapt.
Were you there when the terrorist attack?
But I wasn't at the event because I couldn't afford it. But I was at the Lowbrow Brewery. Every morning we would come around. We had free breakfast, right? Big stein of beer, free, and rolls and sausages. Kept me going all day. But that beer is really strong. But that was after the 3rd, 4th day, he said, "Weren't you here yesterday? I think you better stay away. You had enough." Because every day was free during the Olympics. That was so funny. Some of the things you remember. And another thing, because I was Catholic, I was able to live in a convent. My husband and I went over, and they didn't believe we were married, but we were different names. We're allowed to do that. But those nuns, they said, I don't know. Lebanese nuns, good thing I could speak French. But every morning went down to church with them, so they wouldn't give me the evil eye. But it was cheaper. So you can go on pilgrimage. Right? And in Spain, there's that St. James Way of Compostela, all along the northern border. And and who knows if they're gonna succeed? I've just seen in the paper they're fighting for their own their own little independence too. The El Camino is a wonderful hiking way. You don't have to do the whole way, you just do part of it. The trekking all along the northern borders of Brazil, Catalan.
My roommate did the Camino last year, and she got to film it the whole way for her summer job. So she just like did the Camino by herself and filmed it. Pretty cool. Yeah.
We had an art teacher, it's been a decade ago, but she and her mother walked went the whole distance.
Now, if you want to go, here's another hint. If you want to go someplace and you don't have any contacts, because we have these strong organizations, we can help you contact somebody who will help you find students to live with. Because that's what I did when I went to Barcelona. My colleague, Fernando Hernandez, set me up with one of the students, and I lived in a tiny little room. It was like the back room where you change. And you put a bed there, and I was able to hang my clothes. And that's how I lived for 2 months. And cheap. And then they paid me a little bit so I could eat. But we've got those contacts for you. And when you need it. And there's always somebody who would like to have a foreign guest be with them. I remember when Anna, she comes to Phoenix, and I put her with one of my students, graduate students, and they had a wonderful time together. You know, so you can do that.
Christina Hissey has been a guest in our home. When she was at Penn State, she came over.
Oh, nice.
Spend time with them.
Yeah, so it's good for you. And then I don't want to put down all the stuff is easy. This is hard work. When I did my dissertation, I didn't see the light of day. One summer, at morning, noon, and night, I wrote. I went out for a little walk in the afternoon, and there's some more embarrassing things that I couldn't tell you, that health-wise, that I'm sitting too much. You can imagine. But they had to put my dissertation defense off a couple of weeks because of that. But when you want something and you desperately dedicate yourself to it, and I was running out of money, so I had a job offer for Cleveland State, and I said, I got to get out of here. Or they would keep you forever. You know, they would love just to have somebody teach 101 for and a chicken feed. But that's how I got done faster. Because I already had done this study one summer, and Ken Beidel said to me, I liked it the way it was originally. You don't need all that extra philosophy stuff. They put it all in the appendix. I said, well, that's a whole year's work. I used it later. Was able to write other studies on it. But like I said, they'll keep you there if they can. That's what you need to do. You need to advocate for yourself. Even going to the NAEA, nobody wanted to go. Harlan Hoffman sent me. Oh, you're a big pain in the ass. I said, why? I said, no, you should be proud somebody wants to go and represent Penn State. And I went back again, in a nice way, bugging him. And finally he sent me. But this is what happened. Remember I said politics and be persistent in a nice way. And eventually you'll get what you want. But it's not easy. And some people are stubborn, right? I'm telling you how it is. That's how it can be difficult. And women always had a difficult time. I was thought of as a reluctant feminist because I was too busy to be anything else. And people would say, you do promote a lot of women. I said, I guess I do. So there you go. Any other questions, guys?
Well, this is really been wonderful, and I want to thank you for your time, and all of you. Great.
Thank you.
It's I always arrive anticipating learning something, and so if there are no more questions, I would like to thank you once again, and this will conclude our panel. And I do want to make a statement to the recording camera that all of these records are available along with the other 35 distinguished lecturers in the series in the Miami University archives in Oxford, Ohio. And eventually, keep checking back, because the intent is to digitize everything so that it will be available. And some of you, if you see this many years later, are going to have a little chuckle that this was even an issue right now. But it's part of the way the world works. And so you just have to keep awake.
Right.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.